Chad, Nigeria's northeastern Central African neighbor, has been in a state of mourning following the death of long-term ruler General Idris Deby, who was killed in battle by rebels, according to state media. His son, General Mahamat Deby, is already installed as interim head of state, seeking to maintain the family's 30-something years stranglehold on power in the war-torn country. However, beyond what's happening inside of Chad, analysts are saying that these events are likely to have wider implications for the joint regional campaign against Boko Haram and Islamic State around Lake Chad area. And that's where Nigeria's image looms large. For starters, what should be her diplomatic position on the current events in Chad? Joining us now from London, UK, to break down the situation is Paul Ejime, an international affairs expert and consultant to international organizations, including ECOWAS, and the European Union on Development Communications, Peace and Security, and the Media. Welcome to the program. Good morning.
Thank you very much.
Good morning.
Thank you for having me.
Good morning, Paul Ejime.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us.
Abati,
well, very quickly.
Good
morning, sir.
Yes.
Very quickly. Idris Deby Itno. He may have been one of the Hittite African leaders, but he was a major stabilizing force, particularly with the courage that he showed in the fight against terrorism. Now, with his death, are we likely to see a Libyanization of Chad? And what are the security implications, particularly for Nigeria, a country that seems to have issues now all around our neighbors? In Republic of Benin, there is disquiet there. In Niger the other day, there was a coup attempt. Now, Chad looks like it's likely to implode. I know that the Minister of Foreign Affairs has issued a statement, but what are those long-term considerations, security considerations, to protect Nigeria, which may be under threat should there be an implosion in just one or two countries around us?
Well, Chad, thank you. Chad has never had any stability since its independence in 1960. You know, so it's been there with so many coups, and then rebel fighters, bless his soul, Field Marshal Idris Deby Itno was conferred that title by the assembly, that parliament that his party controlled. And they said because of the way he has carried out the fight against Islamists, the jihadists, and the terrorists, and Boko Haram, and all that, all in the belt that you mentioned from Libya. Libya looms large because it has become a failed state, more or less. And so all these militant groups now find safe haven there from where to operate, and then do some kind of guerrilla attack, which they have extended to Mali, to Burkina Faso, and Niger, and other places that are on that belt, and then Nigeria. So you talked about Libyanization, Somalization, and all that. All countries in that belt are now falling into pieces. And that should be a major cause for concern to the big brother Nigeria, because anything that happens on that belt can spill over. And because already Nigeria is dealing with having more than its fair share of insecurity all over the place, and so can ill afford more. So a stable Chad would have been preferable. But like I said, history does not support that theory. So what it's not, nobody can really say for sure what is going to play out. President Macron from France is going to attend Idris's Deby's funeral tomorrow. But the rebels that have not letting up, they say they are marching on N'Djamena. And if you remember, it was said that Deby died fighting, leading from the front. That is still questionable because a lot of things are beginning to emerge from there, whether it was actually a friendly fire or it was by troops loyal to him, because there are some, intricate power tussle going on, whether from the family, his own family, had a large family, had so many children. Mahamat that has taken over is just one of them. And then he, you know, they said that he enjoys some support in the military. But what about the rebels and all that? So it is a very complex and explosive issue that we are looking at in Chad. Well, there is also the subtext of the fact that he was a stabilizing factor. Here we have a country that is rich in oil, and like most countries in Africa, but it didn't reflect on the common man. We have about 70 to how many percent of Libyans, of Chadians, of 16 million people that are living below the poverty line. And so the wealth that comes from there, he used it to prop himself in power, becoming a field marshal, and then buying arms. That is why some people think that Chad is most equipped and battle fit, battle ready army of about 33,000 or so. But they also have he has support from France, from the US and European Union, and he played the part that he was supporting them to fight terrorism. But that did not at the expense of development and the progress of his own country. And like happens with most dictators, because that is what he was, he will be described as. Opposition, he didn't play with opposition. Everybody that, was not with him was against him, and he dealt with them with an iron hand, iron fist. So like most dictators, what happens is that once they die, they never leave any architecture for succession. You talk about all of them in Africa. It's like that. Once they die, they leave that vacuum that people can begin now to exploit. And don't be surprised that that's
I want to come in here, Mr. Ejime. That word vacuum that you used is the same word President Buhari used while mourning the late President Deby, saying that his death has left a huge vacuum in the fight against Boko Haram. Is his son, Mohammed, equipped to fill that vacuum?
Whether he's what?
Equipped to fill the vacuum left by his father.
Well, a 37-year-old young man, it remains to be seen whether he can fill that vacuum. But what happens, again, like I was saying, if he has the support of the French, perhaps that can happen. And those who supported his father, and how, the level of support that he also enjoys among the military hierarchy. That will determine whether he will stay and how long he's going to stay. But let's face it, all these permutations about stability in Chad and most of the Francophone countries, depend on one thing, the role that France plays. France will tell you, well, they are trying to stabilize their democracy, but in actual fact, I think they are constituting a roadblock, a stumbling block to democracy. If these countries are independent, leave them to make mistakes and then move on. Don't come and play a godfather that in the pretext of protecting your own interests. Much of the resources that come from this country, in fact, the French economy is being, I'm not saying it, the former French president said it, Mitterrand, that without Africa, France is nowhere. And that is what the hegemony they are trying to maintain. But it's high time now they see that, please, leave these people, leave Africans to fend for themselves. They have stooges here and there, in Cote d'Ivoire, in Guinea. This is Chad. Mali too. They determine who goes there. They are in charge of the north of the country. A large swath of land that is mineral rich. So that is, and it is said that they are getting about $500 billion annually from the 14 countries that they colonized. I mean, if this neo-colonialism has to end, I think that is the longer term, solution. Because every other thing you do will depend on what France does or does not do. So, and I think African countries, every other person is just watching. Look at Libya. It was the former President Sarkozy that led the onslaught against the removal of Gaddafi. and so on and so forth. Look at all the regimes. France cannot, come clean to say, well, they don't have a hand in what happens in all this. But that is not how it should be, unlike the, other colonial masters. I think that has to be faced. Blame, of course, that it is the people say that is the home rat that tells the bush rat where you have meat and fish. You blame the Africans who allow themselves to be used against their own people. I think that is what Africa should. If there is this talk about democracy, if ever democracy will take off or be consolidated in Africa, this is what they have to look at. Now, do you remember? Chad is a member. It's not an ECOWAS country. It belongs to the ECAS, Central Africa. But now that organization is dead. ECAS. You have countries like Cameroon, like Gabon. These are places where you have virtual monarchs and dictators in government.
Okay.
What do you expect from that?
Okay.
And the AU. Okay. Yes, okay.
I mean, great insights, and it's always a joy talking to you every time. Really, you said it all. The hypocrisy of France in all of this and the colonialism. You talked about how Sarkozy worked so hard at pulling Imperialism. How Sarkozy worked so hard at pulling the Libyan government down. But let's not forget, same Sarkozy his election was funded in 2007 by same Libyan money. And that's the irony that is going on. But I'd like to ask, what should be the future of Chad? Because, there are unverified videos, and I repeat the word unverified videos, that a lot of Chadians are leaving their country, getting across and going into some other African countries because they think it's going to erupt, it's going to go down. Will this 37-year-old be able to stabilize the country, just like his father did? Because his father, too, was 37 when he kicked Znehabre out. Will this 37-year-old be able to stabilize the country and bring the Chadians back in and they start to look forward at development, despite the many debts they have in Chad?
Well, you see, whatever they do, I think I have given the prescription about what should end the easiest way. But it's not easy. What will happen is that it has to be a long term, because France will not be in a hurry to leave. That is the question. But have you, the young man, I don't know, I have given you what is there, whether France wants him to stay. That is the issue. Because if they find that he's not playing to the rule books, he will be taken out. And for how long will African countries, continue to do this type of thing? The late Houphouët in Côte d'Ivoire, that was what he was doing. He was a front man for France. Even when people were talking about ECOWAS and all that, they instigated. They will sit down and instigate, determine who runs the nations of Africa. That should not happen. Look at what is happening. AU, is a Chadian is in charge. And when people were raising this issue about a Chadian being in charge of AU, a Chadian in charge of now the UN office in West Africa, WAS, is headed by a Chadian, and so on and so forth. So when this type of thing happens, this is what you get. Disequilibrium, and then conflicts all over the place. So, can you imagine what AU has said? AU has virtually supported in all effectiveness. It's a coup. The military, there is a constitution in Chad that said that the speaker or head of the president of, that's what they call him, or parliament should take over. But what has happened? The military, a gang of 15 have come up and said that this man's son should take over. Where is democracy? And AU are saying, well, let countries in the region support this military transition government that is council that says it will hand over in 18 months. But watch it, after that 18 months, what happens? You talked about long term. Yes.
Well, that's where the big hypocrisy is, because what you have in Chad now is clearly a return to a military rule. But Nigeria is talking about a constitutional order. And Nigeria is also saying to be willing to mediate between the rebels who want to overrun N'Djamena and the military government that is now in place. What should be the role of ECOWAS? You just talked about AU. what should be the role of ECOWAS. ECOWAS has very clear protocols with regard to military role under its constitutive, principles. So what is ECOWAS saying?
Yeah, I told you that ECOWAS, Chad is not a member of ECOWAS.
I know.
It belongs to ECOWAS. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Here, it would have been the ECAS, that is the Central African Economic Community, or AU, the African Union, that should have come in. Nigeria, ECOWAS can come in, Nigeria is there, and then Niger, Benin, all those countries that are contiguous to Chad. But that is on, maybe group, bilateral. That was why AU set up RECs. They call them regional economic communities. And ECOWAS was doing well. ECAS is not. They seldom hold any meeting. Where you have people like life presidents like Paul Biya, and then is it Bongo, who took over from his father? You cannot expect anything good to come from there. So it's a hard a big call for all of them. And that is why the people, the main instrument of the stabilization, which is France, but they will not accept it. I think they ought to have come to, but who is going to say it now? It's a Chadian that is in charge of AU. And they have all lined up to say, literally supporting a coup, when all the known instruments, whether by AU, by everywhere, we say there is no appetite for coup d'etat, but what have you done? They're all lining up to support that. In Mali, you talked about suspension, you talked about that. But who is going to bear the cat? And that is where the issue comes. Nigeria should, because of its own interests, national interests and regional interests, should be able to, I thought, they did not even condemn it. Nigeria they were paying tribute to the fact that Deby helped in fighting insurrection. And it will remain. So there should be condemnation of this type of thing and put a stop to this meddling.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Paul Ejima.